Can you tell us why you're in love with the dog?
Just because he's cute.
Jonny Quest was a total ripoff of the Venture Brothers.
Jonny Quest was a crossover between adventure and homeschool.
Jonny Quest was a blast from the past and so much more.
Whoa, that rhymed. Hello, everybody.
I was like, why am I on the big screen right now? Okay.
Welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. Yes, I know. You still can. I know that Jonny Quest came before the Venture Brothers, and Venture Brothers was a copy of that. So everybody, please calm down. Get back in your seats, please.
Start typing and argue with him.
Yeah. So, of course, we are doing a comedy/cartoon month. Anything that starts with a C. Comedy, cartoon.
Characters.
Yeah.
Character, cult.
So if you would like us to review a show in the comments below, just type WTF, that stands for Watch the First, and whatever show you'd like us to watch. And please make sure you tell us where we can stream it. Like in this case, you would say WTF Jonny Quest on Tubi or wherever. Look, everybody, big surprise, big luck. Jennifer Durst is here as our very special guest. She's an actress and Goonies fan.
I wore this shirt specifically for this.
I figured.
Because I didn't have a Jonny Quest shirt.
And they actually said the word Goonies in this episode.
That's why I did it. They said the Goonies. And I was like, oh, I'm going to wear my Goonies shirt as soon as I heard it.
And number 2 Goonies fan, he is an occasional Star Trek science advisor. He's a good guy. He's a vice provost about academic affairs at Duke University. Wow. It's Dr. Muhammad Noor.
Hello, always a pleasure to be on Fallingtower's Watch the First of Things.
And he's wearing a Dungeons and Dragons shirt that I got him and I love very much.
I love it too. I love the person who gave it to me.
I love it.
Jen's not wearing the shirt I got for her.
Then I would have no shirt on because you never bought me a shirt.
That's true. That's true. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and I'm wearing a shirt that Paramount Plus got for me. So look at that, everybody. What fun. Let's just get into it. This is getting weird. Nobody cares about shirts.
About shirts. I'm wearing a shirt I bought myself because I went to the outdoor movies to see Goonies and I needed to have a shirt for it.
That's freaking awesome, actually. It really is. Hey, Mikey, give me a nice wet licorice kiss. Remember that line?
Oh my God. It's seriously top 5 movies for me.
So. Totally.
Baby Ruth.
Okay, look. Everybody, we're about to get started, but please make sure to like this video. Give us a 5-star rating. Please hit the share button and send it to all of your pals. Please make sure you are subscribed to this channel. And please enjoy the show. Muhammad, it's time for us to shine. Where do we go?
Now we have the predicament section, Ryan's favorite section, where we each predict what each other thought about the show after we saw it.
Just wash this mug, and so like it dribbled water on me from this lip just now when I sipped on it. Now I've got 10 drops on my shirt.
At least we know you washed it.
It's like a dribble mug.
Yeah. I remember those. Okay, yes, my favorite. It is truly my favorite. All right, so Jen and I have known each other for several years. Muhammad and I a few years. The two of you have known each other for not as long, but we can usually predict safely. Let's see. Dr. Noor, I predict that you liked this show. I predict that you have seen quite a bit of this show. Not all of it, but I predict that you've seen a good amount off and on throughout your childhood. Because it was like reruns and stuff. Jen, I predict that you've heard of this show and it looked kind of familiar, but you never really watched it. And I think that you actually kind of enjoyed it, but it also gave you gas. What do you think, Muhammad?
I don't know about that last part.
We'll see.
Ryan, yeah, Ryan, I don't know if you'd seen this before, because I remember when you texted me about this and then and said we're gonna do Jonny Quest. I said, "Oh, we're going way back," and you said like a little way back. I was like, it is way back. Do you not know that? I don't know. I wasn't sure if that meant you didn't understand it or something about the verbiage I used was funny. But in terms of how you liked it, I think you for adjusting for the era that it came from, I think you like the sort of sciencey kind of things. It's definitely had a sciencey sort of angle to it. I think you like the adventure aspect. I think you're gonna come out like, I mean, not in the 9 range, but I think you're gonna come out positive. Jen, I think you actually said to us before we came online that you hadn't seen this before.
I know, I messed it up. I talked too much.
That's okay. But in terms of liking it, I think you're warm. I think yeah, it's enjoyable. You know, it was okay. So I think you'll be reasonably positive. But again, not in the 9 range or anything like that. What do you think, Jen?
Ryan, according to
Yes.
your intro, I would say that you didn't enjoy it. However, I think you tried to trick us, so I think you really did enjoy it. I think you liked it. I'm gonna say you were in the like 7 range. That's what I'm gonna do. Even though you feel like it was like whatever, the Venture Brothers or whatever. I don't even know what that is. Actually, when I was searching for Jonny Quest, the Venture Brothers came up. I'm like, what is this? And I was like, is this like Jonny Quest inside of it? I don't know, whatever. But I think you're gonna give it like a 7-ish, not too crazy. Muhammad, I think you really enjoyed it. I think you'll be like in the 8 zone. I think like I agree with Ryan. I think you've seen it before and it was kind of like nostalgic to you. And I don't know if it like lived up to what you remember if you did see it before, but I think you enjoyed it and I think you would see it again. I think you would continue to watch it because you remember and loved it. And so I think you would probably be higher than Ryan, but both of
He's
you not
always
in
high.
the 10s. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, those are our predictions. And also, quick note, Fallingtower did review Venture Brothers. I think it's called Venture Brothers, not The Venture Brothers, with Darth Shuey, who is the biggest Venture Brothers fan I've ever known in my life, but he's also the only one. But it's one thing he likes better than like Star Wars even. It's insane.
Whoa.
Like he gets like these giant books. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Basically, everybody go check that out. See how I rated it, Darth rated it, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg rated it. This is WTF number 29, our 29th episode.
Wow.
Check that out if you dare. Did we like it? Who knows? All right, now everybody make your predictions on this show, Jonny Quest. Did I like it? Jen, Muhammad, what do you think and why? Take your time, type away in the live chat what you think, and in the comments below, let us know what you thought as well if you're not watching it live. And while you're typing away, Muhammad's going to buy us a little bit of time by telling us what this show is even about.
I will indeed. So a strange red light and lizard men with oxygen tanks are destroying ships in the Sargasso Sea area. Dr. Benton Quest and his team, including his son Johnny and his son's caretaker Race, go out to explore. Race and Johnny, along with Johnny's dog, are exploring a broken ship when they're attacked and taken hostage. They learn that a foreign government is testing a laser and intends to use it on an upcoming moon rocket. Fortunately, Race and Johnny escape, and following a long action sequence, Benton uses a mirror to aim the laser back at the enemy ship and destroy it. The moon rocket goes off without a hitch, and the family gets back to its hijinks near their beach home.
Their beach home.
Hijinks. All right.
I just slipped in that word.
Very nice. Very nice, everybody. Hopefully you are finishing up your predictions. And now we're going to jump into probably my second or third favorite. Muhammad seems to really like this part, though.
I love this one. Expect kitchen. Well, we spent a little bit of time on what you expect and much more time on what you getchin from this episode.
Look at those punches. Someone's boxes.
Not.
So everybody at
just
home,
for expect kitchens.
If you have like these big Amazon boxes that you can't get into, give it to Muhammad. He just punches right through and pulls the stuff out broken. All right, let's do it. Dr. Noor let's compare and contrast what we expected versus what we got. Before you watch this first episode of Jonny Quest, entitled The Mystery of the Lizard Men, what did you expect, if anything?
It's a good question. I was definitely aware of Jonny Quest as a kid. I mean, I remember it being out there, and I probably had seen like bits of it, but it's definitely not like a show I just watched. I think it was, it's well before my time. I mean, this is 1964. That's 7-8 years before I was born. So yeah, I think it was still around, maybe in reruns. I think somebody said that earlier that maybe I'd seen it in reruns. I probably had seen like an episode or two because I was vaguely aware like there's a kid and there's like these two guys. One's his dad and one's just this other guy, which I didn't remember what the relationship was with the other guy. But the specific, I remember there was a guy named Haji who I don't think was even in this episode.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah, so yeah, I was vaguely aware of it. I remembered it was an adventure sort of show, and that was actually the reason I texted Ryan earlier too. Was like, I don't think this is a comedy. I think it's more like an adventure, but I could be wrong. So yeah, I mean, that's about as much as I knew. Like, I didn't remember anything about the plots or the style or anything like that, except for like approximate era, adventure, and some of the characters. So that was it for me.
Intriguing. What about you, Jen D? Jurassic Jen, by the way, everybody check her out. Jurassic Jen on all social media.
Good to follow.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't posted in a while, but I'm going to start again. I promise. So when I looked it up, so it's funny because I know Jonny Quest and I know visually what it is. I've heard of it before, but it's so funny when I got the name of it. I don't know why my mind's all over the place. I was thinking Johnny Bravo. So I was like, oh, I've seen a few episodes of Johnny Bravo. And then when we were searching for it to watch, I was like, oh, wait, this is Jonny Quest, not Johnny Bravo. It was like just in my mind, like weird. So I remember like the visual. I don't know what their names were or anything besides Jonny Quest. But I remember like visually what it was. And then I was like, oh my goodness, it's from 1964. I'm going to hate this. So I really expected to be like, oh, it's going to be boring and I'm going to hate this cartoon, but I'll make my way through it. So that was my expectations of it.
Well, very nice. My expectation was similar to Jen's, honestly, without the Johnny Bravo mishap.
You sure?
Yeah. Actually, that should be your last name, Hap.
Hap.
Yeah.
Jen Hap.
No, mishap. So anyway, the point is that, yeah, look, I knew of this existence. I knew of Jonny Quest. I knew it was kind of an old thing. You're right, Mohammed. I did not realize it was September 17th, 1964 when this first happened. I was like, they made cartoons back then? Gross. And I do remember when I was somewhere between the 17 to 20 flavor, I remember a friend of mine trying to get me to watch it. And he was like, no, it's actually pretty cool. We could get all, and watch this cool thing or whatever. And I remember like being like almost insulted that I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not going to watch this trash. Get out of here. Why don't we just watch Yogi Bear while we're at it? Grow up. Anyway, so I don't think I've ever seen a full episode. I know that it may have been on once or twice, when you're flipping through channels, and I was aware of it. That's it. That's all I know. And I knew that Venture Brothers were based, kind of as a half-based, half parody off of Jonny Quest. That's about the extent of it, but that's what we expected, which seemed like not much. Dr. Noor, what did you actually get?
Yeah, it was interesting because, like I said, I didn't really remember anything specific about the episode, and I remember I actually wrote WTH here in my notes from the intro sequence because it was like all over the place. I was like, are they time travelers? Because there was like pterodactyls and there was people with machine guns, there were mummies, there were like floating spaceships. I was like, what? Like, what is this show going to be? I was very confused after the intro sequence. The actual plot itself was much more like not quite so completely all over the place. I don't actually know where the intro sequence is happening. And maybe they do in the future go into like time travel or something like that. Generally speaking, it struck me as a smart show. It was very sciencey. It didn't talk down to the people watching it. Like it used places like, I don't know how many people think about the Sargasso Sea, but the fact they use that, it had like an explanation for how lasers work. It's like, wow, okay, this is like
Yeah.
pretty smart show. So yeah, no, I enjoyed that aspect for it. I thought the relationships were interesting. It was interesting that there was this like guy caretaker for this boy who just like lived with him and did everything with him all the time. Like, okay, I guess
Right.
you're really rich, you can do that. So that was kind of interesting. They didn't introduce us with too many people, so it was easy to follow and things like that. Yeah, just overall, I found it very good for the era. The things which I didn't like, which I think are a little bit more era specific, the action sequence near the end. Oh my god! Like I was like, all right, I'm kind of done with this. Like let's fast forward. Like to my watching, going, okay, they're still fighting and running.
Like
and,
enough.
yeah, no, I didn't enjoy that. Also, and I know this might be heresy. Some people in the comments or in the live chat right now are going to get really mad at me. I didn't like the dog. I mean, it felt like forced comic relief, and like, okay, I mean, even as a kid, I never liked the sort of forced comic relief thing. It was like, it's nice if it's kind of natural, but this one felt like, we're going to insert this so the little kids will be happy. Like, it didn't. I didn't think even little kid me would have thought that was very interesting. But overall, I'd say I was pretty positive on it. Just especially like it's the kind of thing that if I was to go back to myself in say the 1970s when I was like 8 or whatever, would I continue watching more of this? It was on, yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk about present me later because I know I haven't won that way yet.
That was
Ryan's like, oh
one.
yeah.
Well, Jen, so Muhammad really talked a lot of shit about your background there.
I know.
What did you actually get upon viewing this first episode?
I actually thought it was so funny. Like I know, but I agree with some stuff of like, I didn't see the dog so much as forced, but like, when you're watching something, you're like, oh, they're definitely doing this so the kids could laugh kind of thing. Like a lot of the stuff, like them falling and all this, like when he like the dog actually pulls the guy's thing and he goes through the window kind of thing, like all that stuff I felt like was forced, but I actually was like, we were like laughing about it because we're like, oh, this is like it was more funny that it was like forced kind of thing. But I thought like a lot of the comments and stuff were kind of like cheesy, but like so funny. Like I think there was one part where they were like, "We're gonna hold you captive," and he's like, "Why?" or something like that. Like it was like stupid stuff like that we're like laughing about. So I actually enjoyed it. I wasn't like looking at my watch like when it was over. It did kind of feel longer than it was because I felt like it was gonna be so short, but it felt like a little longer than it was. But it was pretty funny and I had a lot of questions like, why does the dad let the kid go on those adventures? Like, I'm like, why is he like okay with that? But I actually, especially from my expectation of what I went in with, I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was really fun. It was entertaining, basically. And I thought, like, I was like, I didn't expect that from a 1964 cartoon. Like, it did look older, like the animation, but I thought it would look even more like this looked like more like late 70s to me kind of thing,
I agree.
So, but I was entertained.
Yeah.
And Dick at him, he's so cute. Sorry.
Aw, see.
It's cute. I'll grant that. He's cute.
He's very cute.
Yeah, this show's gonna be 60 years old in a few months.
I couldn't believe it was 64. I was like, oh my goodness.
60 years old. All right. So everybody, I'll tell y'all what I actually got because I know you're waiting with bated breath. Look. Actually, I did put in my notes that this dog barks way too much. I would be like, dude, dog, calm down. Enough. Enough. You're cute in real life. But shut the fuck up. Anyway.
I'll come back to that point later.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I actually got was, boy, my instincts were correct in that it's not a show that I would enjoy. I did not enjoy this. I just was like, what? Just so trashy. However, it was very good. I mean, considering it's 60 years old, I didn't know it was going to be that old. I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was a show from like the early 80s or late 70s. I knew it was kind of old, but I didn't realize it was that old. And the quality is better than I would imagine the 60s to have been. Yep. Either I've underestimated the 60s or this show was just ahead of its time. I mean, this predates Star Trek.
It does.
That's crazy. Anyway, so I was actually, I wouldn't say as strong as impressed, but this show was probably regarded as very good for its time. So I was pretty relatively surprised by that, but then less so because it feels like it is a popular show. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. But Muhammad's got a lot of notes he wants to jump into, so let's just do it. Yeah, he's like, I got so many things I need to address based on what you dorks just said.
No, actually, I agree with everything both of you guys have said. It's funny, some of the things that caught my eye. Like one of the things I thought was very funny was just how, like, one note Benton Quest was like, something must have gone wrong. I hear shooting. Like, dude, it's your son. Like, it was like so much like, oh, like, and like, I hope he can come up with something. Talking about race, trying to like find a way to get, like, your kid's about to like die, and you're like, I hope he can come up with something. What? that I thought was, I put a big ha-ha for that.
Yeah, the you were talking about the barking too. When they were hiding in the submarine and trying to get out, and sending people through, or sending the kid through the vent, they're all yelling like, "Hey, blah 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 blah!" Like what are you doing? Like, somebody's gonna totally hear this. And then the dog yapping, like, "Oh my god!" Like, you guys would, like, in a real world submarine, like, you have been found in like a minute. You're making so much noise in there. Those were things I thought, were, amusing in their absurdity. I love that pre-computer. I wrote down UNIC, the Unitized Neutronic Information Center. I'm not going to comment on the name.
Muhammad, it was called Eunice.
Oh, Eunice.
Specifically said Eunice.
Okay.
And I was going to make the joke and call it eunuch, but you actually are calling it eunuch.
I should have wrote down UNIC. I forgot that's how they pronounced it.
Yeah. You see, Jen, a eunuch back in the day. Oh, okay.
But you can explain to everybody who maybe doesn't know what it is.
And it's interesting because, like, the moonshot rocket thing, I mean, like, nobody had gone to the moon yet at that point. Like, yeah, that was like really futuristic. Yeah, and like the laser stuff too. I mean, they kept on talking about laser, like it's so complex. Like, what if it's a laser?
Yeah.
but again, for the era, pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
So Jen, can you tell us why you're in love with the dog?
Just because he's cute. He did annoy me sometimes too, but like, it was like, because I remember when you first saw him, he was so cute, and he was like, when they were on the island and stuff like that. So I remember going, oh, I think he's my favorite, he's so cute. And then he jumped on Race or whatever, and he started barking a lot, and I was like, okay, shut up, now you're ruining it for me. I mean, I still think he's the cutest, but I was like, okay, the barking,
out of these dorks. Yeah.
And then a lot of when he was going to get the key and stuff like it reminds me of like those movies where like zombies are running after you, and instead of just like running or like getting to the spot, they have to have like a moment. The dog's walking so slow, they're talking loud. He's like, take this, like the longest. I'm like, just give him the damn key. And then he's walking slowly, and then he's explaining what he's gonna do with the door. I'm like, just open it. Like, I was getting like mad at them. I was like, come on,
a lot
already.
of explaining. I agree.
Yeah, that was a little peculiar. However, so that was your favorite character, right? The dog.
Yeah, in a sense, because I think, like, yes, he's a little annoying, but I think he brings a lot to it because he's just cute, and I like that he like barks, and he's still kind of like the hero, like he does little heroic things even though he's like scared sometimes, but he got his like Johnny's back. So
Muhammad, I was hoping you had seen this show a lot because I wanted to ask you, why the crap is this guy's name Race? The only thing I could assume is that he's like a race car driver. I'm like, it better be that you're a runner or a race car driver. I don't know why else. Was that like a common name in the 60s? Oh, this is Race Samuelson over here.
Race Bannon.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so
I
we
don't
don't know
remember enough about the show. I mean, I wouldn't have even known his name was Race before we watched it just now.
I did.
There was some other guy.
I did get kind of weird vibe. I did assume when I first saw these two characters that Race was his dad, but then it said that the redhead was his dad, which I thought was kind of weird.
Who doesn't even care about him?
Yeah, and then there's bullets flying by the kid, and the kid needs to be told to put his head
The
down.
duck down. Yeah.
And
they definitely have stormtrooper aim. Like the amount of times they were shooting, like really? Come
I
on.
put that in my notes. I said these guys are dumber than stormtroopers because not only could they not aim well, they just stand there and watch things happen to them. They're just stand there and they're like a anchor drops down and they're like, oh well, I guess we'll just fall and be dead now. What can I do against such reckless anchoring?
Yeah, it was like also that part, the anchor dropped. They could have not fell down, but it fell. They were away from it, and then they all sunk into it.
Or they could have watched the kid who's yelling, "Hey, I'm going to drop this anchor down," and they're like, "Nah, don't pay attention to him. Just stand here. Should we do something?" No.
They were very dumb.
Yeah, that was the over-explaining I saw in general. Like, hang on, I'm about to swing over to help. Like, why? Yeah, just go.
Yeah,
like, just do it.
But he did say Goonies, so that was fun. Yeah, the other thing was when I noticed he made jokes. He said like, "Hang on, the cavalry is coming," or something like that. I'm like, bro, this child is about to get killed, as far as you know, and you're like trying to come up. What's a clever way to? How do I word this? You're just gonna run over.
I did know there was like jokes about stuff that I didn't get, but I felt like they were jokes. But maybe it was because it was in the '60s. I felt like
right, and you had just barely been born
like,
by then, yeah.
Huh? I was already like 5 by then. So.
Don't believe it.
Okay. Muhammad, did you have a favorite character? Was it Race, the guy that kind of seemed like a little weird in his bathing suit, like the whole time?
I look at his hands in your picture.
Yeah, I think I'd have to just go with Jonny Quest. I mean, like I usually don't like just picking the main character, but he seemed the most effective at what he was doing. So
that's true.
I'd give it to him. Especially if you calibrate by age, like, oh my God, they're like really effective.
Put it on a curve.
Yeah.
On a curve. What was your
penalty?
What was your favorite moment, Jen? Did you have some favorite moments that just made you go like, ah, or a tee-hee?
I just found like the little comic things like funny. Like I said before, like it was just stupid comedy, but it was like he even said like when he came out of the thing, he like hit the vent thing on the lizard guy and he's like, oh, wonder what happened to him. And I'm like, this is so stupid.
That was funny. That was funny. I like that
stuff
one.
like that. And then I found it so funny, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what it was, when they held him hostage, like, we're gonna keep you here, and he's like, why? And I'm like, duh, like they're not gonna just let him go. Like it was just stupid. So I didn't have like one exact amazing moment, but I thought those little stupid comedy moments were like my favorite. I actually laughed out loud at them. I don't know if I laughed because it was funny or because of how dumb it was of being funny, but it was like, it made me laugh a lot.
Oh, you know,
you hit oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
I would say you hit the one intentionally funny thing that I wrote down too. Was the I wonder what happened to him line. That was the one intentionally funny thing. I was like, oh my God, that was funny.
Or those poor suckers on the boats whose names were Lookout and Gunner. Like, I guess that's probably what they do. Otherwise, they got ripped off as far as names. I was like, this kind of reminds me of G.I. Joe, where like the G.I. Joe, but that was like their call names were like, you know, Snake Eyes or, you know, Shipwreck. Shipwreck's the guy on the boats, you know, but these guys were just straight up Lookout and Gunner. But Muhammad, I had a couple questions for you as a scientist. So, you know, because I don't really understand this stuff, and I felt like as a scientist, you could explain. If someone were to take a boat out to the Sargasso Sea, which I just found out by looking it up, I never heard of it before, so that's a plus for this show, teaching us things. Turns out it's just the Bermuda Triangle, basically, right? So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So that's why they're all missing there. It's a real thing. If you were to take a boat out to the Sargasso Sea, what's the likelihood of actually finding the one boat with people in it in that sea that is the size of, say, Spain?
I actually had a thought on that one. On that particular one, the reason I was thinking they went there is that probably that was the one that looked the least wrecked. Because he said, oh, let's go to that big one. So I'm guessing the others were probably more broken. Whereas that one was actually like mostly intact. That was the reason I thought that they probably.
But how likely is it to find a boat in the ocean.
That just finding it is hard. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of picking it among the selections, I thought that wasn't quite so bad. But yeah, that point did actually strike me. I was like, well, maybe it was like the least broken, most complete. And that's why they wanted to go walk around on it. But yeah.
Also, talking lasers. As a scientist, when they first shot a laser at a boat, the boat exploded.
Yeah, I didn't understand at all.
That doesn't work
gas,
for me.
Maybe it was just the heat and the gas.
But secondarily, when they shot the laser at Jonny Quest's boat, the boat did not explode. In fact, the guy had this really perfect aim and just got direct. He was like,
Finally.
Right that mirror.
Aim for that
Finally.
mirror and don't explode the boat. How likely is something like that to happen? Any of those things?
Less likely. No, the mirror one definitely did bug me, especially because it angled back at this really up thing. Like that is definitely. I mean, unless there was another mirror in the sky that aimed it back down to the ship. I don't know how it hit the other ship.
Yeah. Oh, and one more scientific question.
I have a TV
these,
question for you afterwards.
If these guys are responsible for blowing up ships with their laser beam, what is the likelihood of whole ships being floating around there?
Actually, I had a related question to that. Like, if somebody's blowing up ships, why isn't like the Navy showing up? Why isn't it just it's like one guy?
Why is it just Jonny Quest and Ray? But that's true. Like, why is there whole ships there then? What are they doing? Are they saving some? They're like,
Rebuilding? I don't know. It's a good question.
They did have. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was gonna say, did you get from especially the Lizardmen? Did you get Scooby-Doo vibes?
I got Scooby-Doo vibes too, because even with the title, I was like, oh, it's a lizard man, and then I was like, wait, they're just like scuba divers.
And
so it's
mystery.
gonna be one of those things where it's like not a real ghost, not a real lizard man. It's gonna be regular people in an outfit pretending.
Totally.
I totally got Scooby-Doo vibes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch Scooby-Doo as a kid. No spoilers, but I couldn't stand it. No? I know I'm in the minority.
I didn't watch it religiously, but I've seen a few episodes, and I know the theme of it, like of what happens at every end of episode.
Yeah. Would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Maybe since you're a little bit younger, you may have come in the Scrappy-Doo era, and that's when it kind of jumped the shark. Like,
Maybe, when was Scooby-Doo? Is it like 80s or?
I think it goes into the 70s. They're like, I think it started. Yeah.
If I'm picturing them correctly, they're definitely wearing 70s clothes. Feels like they're wearing late 70s.
Yeah,
they're ahead of the curve.
That's true.
Let's find out. 1969.
Whoa.
That's why
for Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, that's why
I'm
it looks like they're
amazed
wearing
at this. Like
70s.
even Jonny Quest, like I said, I thought it was late 70s and it's 60s, and then Scooby-Doo, I thought it was like late 70s into early 80s, and it's like whoa, 69. Oh, so. Shut up, Ryan.
I didn't say anything.
Now he's gonna watch Scooby-Doo.
I will say though, it seemed like maybe we got a glimpse into their formula, which is I noticed that what they were doing at the beginning of the episode tied coincidentally into what they were doing as the mission. Remember, they were doing the hydrofoil. They were learning about the boat and stuff like that. And it comes in handy on the mission. So I'm wondering if that's their formula. At the beginning of the episode, they're learning about, dinosaurs and pterodactyls. And then in that episode, they run into it. And the knowledge that Jonny Quest picked up at the beginning of the episode comes in handy later. Which is great, a great way to teach kids, because then it's like field application. It's like you learn about the bugs in class, but then you go out with your jar and your net to catch them for biology class or something like that. And I too was very confused with the theme song, because first of all, it had no chorus or verse. It was just noise. But then also I was like, pterodactyls, cavemen, spaceships. There's machine guns. There's a mummy, a weird spider. I was like, "What?
It is like Scooby-Doo."
It's crazy.
But it came before Scooby-Doo, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
wonder if it
Speed-do.
influenced it.
Mhm.
So, did you say speed do?
I said pre-do or something.
Because
Yeah.
speed do, I
Speed-do.
believe, is like those jet ski brand. It's like a brand of jet skis.
Could be Scooby intestine before you Scooby Doo. Sorry, that was bad.
Yeah, I've also never heard of somebody trying to lose somebody on a boat by jumping over another boat. You know, you're still just as far ahead as, well, whatever.
So he landed on the boat, right? So I mean, that was his point. It was to crush the other boat.
I guess. I don't know. Okay. Well, look, here's the point. We're gonna have to change a channel here, which is what I wish I could have done. Jen,
Oh, damn.
let's talk about you for a moment, please. What do you say about that?
Jen's awesome.
Sure.
So Jen here, everybody, is an actress, but she also dabbles in doing some writing and producing of her own. Sometimes she makes her own short films, usually comedic because she's very funny. And on top of that, she knows what makes us giggle. But she's also especially a great actor. She's a hand model, and she's like a Instagram influencer on her Jurassic Jen profile. So everybody's right now is going like, how can one person do so many things? To which I would answer, that's a good question, Jen.
Well, the hand modeling thing is kind of like funny. It's not like fully real. It just kind of happens. Like I don't have pictures of my hands. I don't have anything. But for some reason, when I'm on sets and stuff, they're like, "Oh, we need to get a close up of this. Can we get your hands in it? Can you use your hands?" I'm like, "Okay." It's just kind of like a coincidence. So we joke about it a lot. But I don't have like a portfolio of my hands. I don't like submit myself to hand things. So like,
Your hand doesn't have a separate website.
it has a separate website, I guess. And now and I don't take care of my hand. So I'm like, I don't know. That's probably why they get put in a lot of horror movies.
It's the
They're like, "Oh,
realness of it.
we need your hand for this." But I should probably submit them because my hands are tiny. So that's why they look good on camera. You know how that the camera puts on weight?
Oh.
It just makes it look like a normal hand. So that's why.
Do you ever feel like you wear too many hats? Do you ever feel like you're way too busy? Or do you like dipping your toes in a million things and you conquer it all?
I stop a lot of things sometimes when I'm doing too much, but then when I'm not, but then what happens is then I start to feel like, oh my God, I'm doing nothing. So it's like, then I have to like jump back into it and then I hate it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a break from this. And then I'm like, wait. Like I need to be doing something. So it's kind of like back and forth all the time. Like even the producing thing, I don't really like producing, but I always want kind of like the hand modeling thing. It's like, I didn't go in to be a hand model, but sometimes I wind up producing things that I'm like, wait, I was just supposed to acting this and then I'm producing it. Or it was just my creative idea and then I'm producing it. And it's like, it drives me crazy. But then I'm also the type of person that I'm like, if it's my project, it's hard for me not to jump into that role because I want it to be done like the way I envisioned it. And I want to make sure I'm the type of person that if I hand it over to somebody else, like I'm always like, did you do this? Did you get this? And they're like, you gave me this job, like, just leave me alone. And I'm like, I just have to like know everything. And so, but it's been a little bit of a break on a lot of ends. Like I'm in the middle of writing a movie. So like, we'll see what happens after that. I mean, I'm not writing it. It's my idea and someone's writing it for me. So we meet
feature
like
length?
weekly. Feature length. Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
It's a Christmas movie.
Aww.
But it's not like a Hallmark Christmas movie. It's more of like, it's more of like what you would see like on Netflix or something.
Ooh.
Not like Hallmark or Lifetime, no. It's more like comedic and like a little, not like lovey-dovey type stuff. So
Where is it filmed?
It'll be filmed here probably.
Okay.
So, yeah. But right now we're just in writing process. We're like trying to get everything together and then we'll move forward from that. But that even like gets to me because it's like I'm not an actual physical writer. So it's like my idea. So it's like it's all on her to write it. So I'm always like, did you do this? Did you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm doing it. And like I'm like, okay. Like I wish I could write it too. I'll be like the little
Didn't you just say you don't like it when people do that to you?
I hate when people do it to me. See, that's why I have to like calm myself down.
It's because you like to do it.
It's true. I don't like, that's the problem. I don't like doing it, but it's like my mind is like, it has to do it. It's like, so, but there's been times too, and not so much like in acting or producing, but there's been times too where I actually trust the person to do it. And I'm like, I'm just going to calm myself down. I'm not going to do it. And then things don't really get done. So then it doesn't help the next time where I'm like, oh crap, that screwed up. So I have to do it, you know. But then there's times that I do trust somebody and they come through, and then I know the next time. So I just need more of that. I need more of the experience of learning people and like being able to just hand it over to them and they'll handle it and stuff. And because in certain situations of my life, I have those people, I've learned that. And then there's certain situations in my life that I gave them the opportunity and I calmed myself down and then it didn't go as expected. So now it's like, banana.
So now it's like banana.
Because I saw you pick up your banana.
Do you have anything else that you're currently working on or that you've done recently that you'd like to share?
No, I am going to start my Jurassic Park site. I haven't been posting a lot, but it has been the 30th anniversary and people actually worried about me. They're messaging me like, it's the 30th anniversary. Like, where are you? Like, why aren't you doing anything? And like, I just kind of been MIA on that, not on purpose, but my site, when I was trying to post stuff, because I went to Hawaii in January and I went to see the Jurassic World site and stuff. So I was trying to make videos about it and it would get deleted and it wouldn't post and the uploading was bad. So people were like, maybe there's something with your Instagram. I contacted Instagram. I was doing all this stuff. So then I thought it was fixed and I tried it again and it posted one thing, but then it started acting up again. And then it just came to the point where I'm like, I was so annoyed at it that I kind of just like took a break from it. And now I'm like, oh my God, I have to like start it up again. So I have to like, I'm going to start trying to be creative in that zone right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love
try
your
to get
content
more
on that
Jurassic
site.
stuff.
Yeah, I love your content there. It's great. It's
That's
always really fun
Yeah,
seeing the Jurassic connections.
I kind of miss doing it now. I feel like I took a break from it because I was annoyed at Instagram, not at Jurassic Park, but at Instagram. But now I'm like, let's see if it works. I'll start posting little things, see if it works, and then I'll start doing more like creative stuff.
Don't be so hard on yourselves. Dinosaurs took millions of years off for a break before they came back into the forefront in the 90s.
That's true. And it's so funny. I think I had a sign. I went to a cancer, it's called the Concern Foundation. They had like they do like this auction thing every year and it's at Paramount Studios and it's really nice. And I went there yesterday and I didn't even realize it was the Land Before Time theme. So there was dinosaurs everywhere. So it was pretty, I was like, I think this is a sign like for me to start like doing my dino stuff again. And I know there's at Comic-Con, there's going to be a 30th anniversary exhibit.
Ooh.
So
Muhammad, was that the show with the Slee Stacks? Land Before.
I don't remember if it was I remember the big water song. That's the one I remember from.
It's a movie, yeah. It's a movie.
Okay. I couldn't remember if the Slee Stacks is from that or something else. I remember my kids watching it, but I don't remember.
Everybody in the live.
The song was my actual 8th grade graduation song. Was the song from The Land Before Time by Diana Ross. So every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, it brings me back memories of my 8th grade graduation.
Oh, The Land Before Time. No, I was thinking of The Land of the Lost.
The Lost,
maybe?
yeah.
Oh, that's what that is.
So everybody at home, let us know what you think about The Land of the Lost, Land O'Lakes, and The Land Before Time, and Disneyland. Let us know what your favorite one out of those four is. Land O'Lakes. Don't sleep on Land O'Lakes.
Oh, Big Water is also from Land Before Time.
I don't know it. All right. And everybody in the comments below, let us know if you'd like us to watch Land Before Time. I think that was a series, or Land of the Lost was the one with the.
I don't know.
The Slee Stacks.
I don't know if Land Before Time has a series, but I know it was a movie. So
I think it does. I think it might have a spin on, like those things that
like
nobody really knows about because it's not that great. But we'll see. WTF those shows, everybody in the comments below. And now it is time. Muhammad's like, oh shit, I better put my phone down there.
Yep.
Put his phone down and get his karate chop ready for the terrible twos, everybody.
Bottom line on the bottom.
Here they come, fast and furious. Oh, and everybody, check this out. Jen, where can people find you online, by the way?
On Instagram, I promise I'll start posting again. You can find me at jurassic.jen, or you could go to my other page with my normal everyday life at Jen Dursty, Dursty.
The BTS stuff.
The BTS,
you could do the Jurassic Jen
life.
Or pictures of food, whatever you want.
I don't take pictures of food. So don't worry about that.
She just poses with food and someone else takes the picture. Look.
I also have a jendurst.com if you want to check out like my acting stuff. So.
That's a good one. JENDURST.com. Everybody check that out. And now, question number 1 of the Terrible Twos is... What is it? On a scale of 1 to 10, this is a fun one for me. I really like this one. Dr. Muhammad Noor, what would you give the first episode of Jonny Quest entitled The Mystery of the Lizard Men?
What I wrote down on my piece of paper is a 7. And I think I'm going to stick with that. And it's not that, I mean, I could go higher in terms of like, especially if I'm scaling it for the era, I would go higher. But I'm just thinking in the context of like right now, what is my perception of that? And with only a little bit of scaling for there. And I'd say a 7. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the complexity to it. I enjoyed the depth. I enjoyed I thought the characters were overall good, -1. But yeah, the action sequence was a little bit too much for me, and some of the over explaining, or not, it's not actually over explaining is the wrong word for it. I guess it's over narrating is more than over explaining. Like that, like okay, I didn't enjoy that. But overall, net positive 7. So I'm sorry for people who are children of the 60s who were like, but it was the best show ever. Sorry. I mean,
7 is really good. 7 is really good. A little bit of context. Muhammad usually gives shows 9s, so it's actually really low. What about you, Jen? On a scale of 1 to 10, are you going to be fussy like Muhammad, or what do you think?
Well, as I was watching it, like I said, I really enjoyed the comedy parts. I didn't expect to laugh like that much. And I don't know why it was so funny to me, but that's why I was like, oh, I'm going to give it a 7.5, like, cause like, but then as we're talking, I'm like, maybe I'll just go back down to go to a 7. So I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, we're tired.
Just as we're talking about, cause sometimes like we're talking about, and then you guys make me realize things. I'm like, okay, yeah. Cause like sometimes I base it on just like my laughter or like this and that and that. And then when I hear you guys talk, I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice that. So yeah. So I took a 0.5 away, but I'll give it a 7.
Good choice.
I'm similar to the both of you.
Except you gave it a 3 and now you gave it a 1.
To where, well, no, in that, like, this is not something enjoyable for me. And I don't think as a child I would have enjoyed this. I was much more of a He-Man, G.I. Joe. Like, I'm like, go sci-fi all the way or go fantasy all the way. I'm less interested in like real world with a hint of fantasy element or a hint of sci-fi element. I'm just like, give me spaceships and aliens or don't. But don't give me just like, hey, it's regular guys, but with a laser, So I don't think I would have liked it as a kid. I don't know, maybe, but I don't think so. And I don't like it as a grown-up kid. So it's a big no in that regard. But objectively,
question number 2, I think there.
Yeah, objectively speaking, though, I think for 1964 and what it was, I think it was actually really good. And so I'm giving it an 8. And I'm sticking with that 8 because I think for its time, it was very, very good. It educated kids. It educated an adult here with the Sargasso Sea that I didn't know. So it educated kids, but it didn't do it in a way that it just seemed like it was obviously trying to teach kids. It was just being educational as the show goes. And I'll bet you it was highly regarded in the 60s. I'll bet it was, which is why it kind of stood the test of time. But that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, everybody, the big one. For the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch first episode of Jonny Quest, but now that the podcast is over and we're free to move about the internet, Dr. Muhammad Noor, of your own volition, would you watch the second?
Like 7-year-old me would absolutely watch the second. Me today, like, there would need to be an external stimulus to do it. Like somebody else wanting to watch it with me, but like on my own, no. I wouldn't be opposed if it was an external stimulus, but like, no, on my own, no. I'm not going to click and see what the second one's like.
Well, that's hurtful to them. What about you, Jen? Would you, of your own volition, watch the second?
So I kind of am curious how the other kid comes in. I expected to see him there. So I kind of want to see how he comes in. So I have this curiosity. So I probably might watch the second because I'm curious. I don't know how long I'm gonna keep watching it, but I'll probably watch the second. But I also have someone who is very nostalgic that I watched the first one with, and he wants to watch the second. So I'm probably gonna have to watch the second anyway. He was about to put it on right away, and then I was like, yeah, let's just wait until after the podcast. So
wow, so that sounds like
I'm
a yes.
Gonna watch. So I have what you need to watch the second, somebody that's going to push me to watch it. But I am very curious. So like even on my own, I would have been curious to see the second. I don't know how far I'll get down the season, but I am curious to find out. I think his name is Haji or something. I just like, he's one of the people that when you say Jonny Quest, I picture his face with Jonny Quest. I don't remember the two adults as so much. So I'm like, I need to know how this kid comes in to the picture. So.
Well, now, everybody, that's a yes and a no. And for me, come on, no, it's a no. There's just not even close.
You pretty much already said it. Yeah.
I mean, I can respect something and say that for its time it was good without wanting to see it. So no, I wouldn't watch the second. I don't think I'd have any reason to. But, no hurt feelings. I still think it was done well. That's it for us, everybody. Sure has been a fun time, and we thank Jen for joining us. What luck, because we love having Jen.
I know we've been trying. I've been trying to come on, but it's been bad scheduling for me.
That's true. You do always make stuff up so that you don't have to come on. I
don't make it up. It's true.
But anyway, everybody, if you'd like us to review a show, especially if it's a comedy or a cartoon, in the comments below, just type WTF and the show you want us to review, as well as where we can stream it. And we should have mentioned at the top, this episode is for Linda Anderegg, who suggested this show most recently. A lot of people have suggested this show over the past few years, but Linda Anderegg did it very recently, just in the last week or so. So this one's for you. I guess that's about it. What I'm trying to say is, this podcast was nostalgic, and I want free beverages from Jen.
I'll give you some.
Ooh, wait, some too. This podcast was a visit through the Wayback Machine.
This podcast was fun and unexpected that I changed my mind and my points. But yes.
Fantastic. Now, everybody at home, remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always likes to say.
Don't forget to be an organ donor, and don't forget to watch the first of things.
All right. Freeze frame like a lizard man.
They're not even that scary.
That shitty smile and pretend that